Hi, this is Pastor Ted Marshall. Welcome to VRM. Today, I've been working on this and gathering information and held on to information that I had several years ago. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water for a second. During the COVID crisis that we had in America, a lot of things happened. And yes, we were lied to. And it's coming out more and more each day, each month, each year. When we look back on the situation that had happened and how the problems that many Americans had have been completely brainwashed and put in a mind-numbing stupor. They cannot and will not even consider anything that goes contrary to what their big screen TV told them. Case in point, University of Southern California conducted a poll which included about 6,000 people at the time and reported that the overwhelming majority of American adults at that time, we're talking about, of course, 21 and 22, 23, and that 3-year period or 2-year period, that 83% were in favor of mask mandates in public. Now, granted, we don't know that those 6,000 people were where they lived or whether or not the university was honest in the reporting. As we know nowadays, they're not. Gallup poll from that summer showed 49% of the Americans were in favor of mask mandates. Regarding the jab mandates, a Gallup poll from last fall of those years, 60% of Americans were in favor of requiring all government employees to be fully jabbed. And 58% agreed that companies with 100 or more employees should be required to get the shot. That same poll, revealed that 63% of Americans are in favor of mandatory jabs of healthcare workers. Like I said, back then the brainwashing was almost complete, as the truth, almost all these things is not allowed to be spoken. The cancel culture was currently living and was so strong that it was causing fear of American people to even question the authorities. Here's the truth. And before I talk about this, I want to tell you that I'm taking a step here because I really feel that the truth is something we really need to understand and to look back on, so we can go in the future or realize what's happening today when we see these things that are happening today with the Senate and the Congress are looking into this and the truth coming out. And we're seeing that the way that some of the congressmen treated one of their own who family goes way back in their party. And I'm speaking, of course, of JFK Jr. or RFK Jr., excuse me. Here's the truth, literally. Thousands of doctors and scientists from around the world have stated that the mask wearing does not protect the wearer, nor does the mask protect others. On the contrary, there's a whole bunch of health problems that are caused by wearing a face mask for extended periods of time. And this has been proven by science over and over again. Regarding the COVID jabs, here are some of the information that started to come out back then that now we can look back on and say, wow. From the VAERS reports, in case you don't know, VAERS is a system that operated by the CDC. And It is VAERS and the FDA, which the healthcare workers reported and also served as an early warning system to detect the possibility safety problems in U.S. Licensed vaccines. Unfortunately, only between 1% and 10%, 1 to 10% the adverse events are ever reported to VAERS. They weren't reported. And if they were, they never made it into the reports. But here's the latest. On January 14th, 2022-23, COVID jabs have been direct cause to 23,652 deaths and 1,109,998 adverse events. Here's a partial list of the most common adverse events people were suffering. Acute myocardial infections, cardiac arrest, circulatory collapse, severe hypertension, all kinds of different things, heart palpitations, palsy, acute respiratory distress syndrome, blood clotting, seizures, strokes. Unfortunately, you won't hear about this in the mainstream media or did not hear about it back then. But those who have been doing the research had common knowledge for more than a year at that time when it was starting to come out. Today, American censorship put the censorship and government propaganda was rival to none. Even the communist China it was the same level at that time. How to explain that so many people reporting that were actually in favor of the government commanding U.S. citizens to be jabbed. Furthermore, we now know that the shots does not protect you from getting sick. It did not protect others around you from getting sick. And it's getting more and more difficult for the powers that be to keep that charade up. You see, trust in science. Here's a timeline. The science we were told to believe about the jabs from the World Health Organization. In May of that year, we were told that the jabs provided 95% protection from COVID. In June, it came down to 70%. In July, it was estimated it only helped 50%, a 50-50 chance that it did anything beneficial. In August, the WHO had to admit that the jab offers no protection, but reduces the spread of COVID. In September, they admitted it does not reduce the spread, but reduces severity of illness. In October, we were told it doesn't reduce the severity, but reduces hospitalization. In November, they had to admit it doesn't reduce hospitalization either, but could possibly keep you from dying. The fact of the matter is these shots were not magically made in less than a year to fight COVID. Here's the big secret. These shots were never made for COVID. On the contrary, COVID was made for the shots. In other words, COVID was the means by which the globalists could force the entire world population into getting injected with deadly poison that had already killed countless people. High school athletes in the prime of their life and helped dropping over dead from heart attacks. Countless pilots forced to take the jab or lose their job, suddenly dying within days of their shots. How much longer can these facts be hidden? Well, the facts of coming out then, and now we know that we were being lied to. I've already spoken about the length of the official hospital protocols in America. The protocols are something that was I'd hate to say affected us all. Just on a personal note, my father at that time, 91, 92 years old, was hospitalized at the Moffitt Center and had cancer surgery. Of course, when he came out, he was doing pretty good. He was sitting up, he was strong, he was active, he was talking, and then things started to happen. They forced everybody to be vaccinated. Well, here's a man that just had cancer operation, and they're going to vaccinate him with the jab. What could go wrong? Well, his health pretty much took a turn to it, and the doctors are saying no, it wasn't the cancer. The cancer was taken care of, but we couldn't really be there. We were not allowed to go and intercede because we were masked away. He was sent to a rehab center where we couldn't even get in to talk to him. We couldn't see what kind of care he was getting. And this story goes downhill from there. He never made it out of the rehab centers. He never did. He passed away. And it wasn't from the cancer. This story happened all across the country, in New York and different places like this, where nursing homes were being cut off from everybody. Nobody could go in. Nobody could really be there to be the advocate, to intercede, to see what kind of medical care was actually happening. Well, some things were happening in there, and we're finding out more and more what it was. The protocols that deny family access to patients as advocates, the protocol is the mandate of a deadly drug called remdesivir. Which literally causes rapid cascading oxygen failure. It's shown proof that the hospital received bonus payments for forbidding the use of safe and effective medicines. More bonuses for using the deadly remdesivir, and more bonus for using sedatives that slowed the breathing and the heart rates to dangerous levels, and more bonuses for using ventilators, which basically suffocated patients to death, and more bonus for every death that they labeled COVID. I have a friend of mine that was with the police department up north and was assigned to security details at a local hospital. And he had the information, that inside information of how much money they were getting. It was 35,000, maybe 45,000 in that area per patient. So just by somebody that would die of another ailment, on the most part, was labeled as COVID related. As for our basic human rights, they no longer existed. Medical privacy was gone. Choice was gone. Back then, the District of Columbia enacted a law whereby all people 12 years old and older must now show their vax papers in order to enter any public space. The same rules took effect in the Twin Cities on January 17th, in Minneapolis. Show your papers, or you'll be shown the door. So much for America's freedom and liberty. So much for personal and medical privacy. So much for personal and medical human rights. Now, I'm taking a risk to tell the truth, and that's not right. You know that there are certain algorithms out there that are prevent this from going out. The scamdemic, the poisonous, deadly jab, and the tyrannical edicts of a government health officials around the world have already broken so many rules. What also, back then, it seems that they were getting away with it. I don't think they are now, though. I think America has woken up. We've realized a tragedy that was man-made. England, France, Germany, Australia, to name a few, about entire families, indeed entire communities being hauled off to COVID concentration camps in August of those years. Washington State suggested a similar plan for how long before it comes to your state. That's the worry that we had back then. That's the truth that was being hidden. But you see, you can't reason with those who have deliberately chosen to believe the lie and lies, illustrated by the hate mail and how they were, even then and even now, are being shut down. You see, no matter what the proof is now, there are still people out there that refuse to see the truth. And I hate to say, even back then, some of our pastors, on the most part, were ignorant. And some of them actually supported the mandatory jabs. Many churches even opened up to be vaccine centers. Boy, today, imagine the shame. We were really in a bad place. We can no longer, even today, have a civil conversation. We're only allowed to see one side, a very twisted and demonic plan for depopulation and worldwide enslavement. That's what we were facing. Now we're starting to see it, aren't we? They were murdering people with these shots. They're calling it healthcare. Sort of like nearly 5 decades ago, in Nazi Germany. Today, baby murder or abortion is what they call women's health care. But you can't deny that every abortion ends with one dead and one wounded. That's not health care. Neither is this. If you happen to be on the other side of the issue and think that the jab and the mask are were wonderful, and you are an extra virtuous person for obeying and complying with the fake science of this demonic regime, let me ask you this. What you knew then and what you know now, it turned out that they were wrong, didn't it? Let's fess up. Let's tell the truth. And 2 Thessalonians 2, the coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan, with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing, because they refuse to love the truth and to be saved. Therefore, God sends them a strong delusion, so that they may believe in the lie, in order that all may be condemned who did not believe in the truth, but has pleasure in unrighteousness. Brothers and sisters, I believe I've shown you the truth. Before anything happens like that again, the first thing we need to do is strive for the truth. Look for those signs of the truth being hidden from you. Look for those signs of things being pushed under the rug. Don't accept the half-truths. The half-truths are the lies. Don't accept the we'll get back to you. We'll circle around with you on that. Remember those words. They're going to circle back when it's too late for you. This is Pastor Ted. If you're brave enough, you can face the truth. If you have Jesus Christ in your heart, you have the truth. But be brave enough to see it, to hear it, to feel it, and to speak it. This is Pastor Ted. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.